Hi guys, it's Sam Day here from DeyTips.com, and in this video I'm focusing on influencer marketing and how you can find the right influencers that fit with your brand, with your product, with your service, and how you can work with them in an effective way to help to really get the message out there about your product or your service. So firstly, I wanted to start off by explaining what influencer marketing is. So essentially, you have loads of different platforms. You have Instagram, you have Facebook, you have Twitter and TikTok, and so on and so forth. And there are creators on these platforms that have built followings. So if someone has a following online and you feel like your product or your service will resonate with the people who follow that particular individual, then you can reach out to them and potentially do a collaboration. And this is known as influencer marketing. So obviously, influencer marketing comes predominantly from the word influencer, and it kind of suggests that the person who is promoting your product or your service has some sort of influence over the people who are following them, and they can basically influence someone to purchase your product or your service. So is influencer marketing right for your product or service? The short answer is probably. So influencer marketing is not going to work for every product or every service, but there are a lot of products and services that it will work well for. And in short, it's just worth testing it. It's worth giving it a go and trying it. But there are a few things that you really want to keep in mind with regards to your influencer marketing. So the first thing you want to think about is always your target customer. If you've been watching any of my videos for any length of time, you will know the importance of understanding your customer. If you understand your customer, then you're going to be able to sell to them a lot easier. So once you understand who your target customer is, get really specific with who they are, the demographics, what interests them, then you need to think about who would inspire them. What videos will they watch on YouTube? What pages will they follow on Instagram? What groups are they a part of on Facebook? If you can identify that, get into the mind of your target customer, identify where they might be. So let's say, for example, you are a florist. You might sell a lot of flowers to men who like to buy gifts for their wives, for example. So you are going to want to actually target an influencer who has a mass following of married men who often spend money or who like to spend money on their wife. So for example, you might find an Instagram page that has a following of men, and maybe it gives men advice about how to, keep their marriage healthy, about how to keep their woman happy, how to keep their wife happy, and stuff like that. So if you found an Instagram page that focused on that particular client group, then that would be an incredible collaboration for you. So hopefully you're beginning to understand, the power of really understanding who your target customer is. Who is it that you want to reach? And the beautiful thing is you might have more than one target customer, because again, if you are selling flowers, then there's loads of different people who might want to buy flowers. We buy flowers when we're happy and when we want to treat someone with a gift, but we also buy flowers when we're grieving. So maybe we're looking to organize a funeral, or we're buying flowers for a funeral and a sad time as well. So you want to know who your target customer is, and basically try and figure out if you can find an influencer who has an audience where you're trying to be. Now, I kind of want to encourage you guys as well to go niche. You don't need an influencer who has millions and millions of followers just for the sake of going for that influencer. They're probably going to charge you an arm and a leg, and it might be really difficult to get a return on investment from that particular influencer, because chances are not all of their audience is going to even be interested in whatever it is that you have on offer. So I would highly recommend to actually find niche related influencers. This is a big mistake that entrepreneurs and business owners might make. Just because someone has 200,000 followers, for example, on any particular platform, doesn't necessarily mean that when they shout your product out, you're going to make a ton of sales if your product or your service doesn't resonate with their target customer, with your target customer. Now, I would also recommend that when doing influencer marketing, to also have an account on the platform that you are planning to work with influencers on. So let's say, for example, you decided that you wanted to work with influencers on Instagram, then make sure you have an Instagram account as well, because one of the things that I teach again a lot on this channel is that the first time someone comes across your business, your website, your product or your service, they might be interested, but they might not necessarily be in the ready to buy mindset the very first time they see your product or your offering. So someone might, for example, see your product or your service as advertised by an influencer, and they might think, wait, that's actually quite cool. Let me go and follow this company. But if you don't have a profile on that platform, then you're kind of missing out on the opportunity to gain followers as well, gain niche related followers, because that's going to be super important for you. That's like the first step in the funnel when doing social media marketing, and you might not necessarily get them as a customer right away, but you might get new followers that way as well. So that's a great way to kind of do some cross collaboration, and you can also maybe tie that into your negotiations when speaking to influencers to say, hey, can you shout out our product and service, but also can you shout out our handle on Twitter or on Instagram. Now, my next tip as well, like when it comes to influencers, they get a lot of requests, they get a lot of emails, they get a lot of messages, they get a lot of comments. So you need to stand out from the crowd. And the best way to do this is to actually become a part of the influencers environment, become a part of their ecosystem. So follow them for a little while. If you find someone today, then consume their content, actually become a watcher, become a listener, become a subscriber, and watch their content, figure out what they are about. If they mention anything in their videos, then keep that in mind, because when you send them a message, you can actually personalize that message. Make sure you're using their name. Make sure you reference the reason why you reached out to them. Let them know that you enjoy their content. Maybe refer to a specific video that you liked watching. Let them know the amount of time you've been subscribed if it's been a long amount of time. So you might not necessarily want to reach out to someone the very first day that you find them. Maybe you follow them for a little while and you leave some comments so they can see, oh, this person's a part of my ecosystem. And when you reach out to them, it's less of a cold email because you know a little bit about them and the content that they produce. Now, off of the back of that, I would also have a look at if they've done any similar product reviews. So have they worked with any companies before that? How did they do their video? So that will give you ideas. If someone is an influencer and they've never done a sponsored video or a sponsored post, then it might be because maybe they just don't do sponsored posts. Maybe their page is not about that and they don't accept sponsored posts. So this is something that you might want to keep in mind as well. It's always quite impressive to me as a YouTuber when a company who wants to work with me actually takes the time out to consume my content and includes that within the emails that they send to me, because then I know that they've actually done their research and they're not just sending out a blanket email to a bunch of YouTubers and a bunch of influencers and whoever says yes they will work with. But it's always nice when a company really takes the time to do their research and understands your platform a little bit, and I always take my time to actually go out of my way and make sure I respond to those messages in particular. So that's something that you really want to do as well. And if you do send a message or an email to an influencer and you don't hear anything back, don't be discouraged. Influencers are busy people. We're entrepreneurs. We've got our businesses to run and our social platforms to run. And a lot of influencers get a lot of messages on a daily basis. So it can easily slip through the cracks if you send a message or an email. So try and message them again. Give them a little bit of time. And if you don't hear a response back, send them a message again and say, hey, I'm not sure if you got my first email, but we would really like to work with you. We've been consuming your content for a while and we love how you talk about X, Y, and Z. And we feel like our brand that sells X, Y, and Z as well would be a great fit for a collaboration. And always ask them as well how they do their collaborations. This is what I see a lot of brands doing wrong. Now I have so many friends who are influencers, YouTubers. They have big followings on Instagram, and a lot of them say the same things when working with companies or companies that want to work with them, is that they don't feel valued enough. They don't feel like the partnership is actually valuable for them. So one thing that you want to remember is that an influencer has taken a lot of time to build up their profile. the numbers that they have didn't just come overnight. For some people, it's taken them years and years and years of consistently putting out content that has allowed them to build an influence. You also want to remember as well that influencers don't just want to work with any old company because of that very reason. They've taken a long time to build their influence, and they don't want to lose the trust and the support of the people that they've kind of built trust with because of referring a product that is subpar, that is not of standard. And also you want to kind of keep in mind the time it takes for an influencer to take time out of their day and to actually make content specific to your product or your service. Now, all of that is a lot of effort, a lot of energy, and a lot of time when they can be doing something else. So you want to make sure that you are compensating your influencers in the right way. So, ask them what their compensation package is and what that involves, because normally an influencer is the best person to tell you what their value is. Someone will know why they've set a particular price. They know how much time it's going to take them to put out that post. They know probably how responsive their following is, and they know kind of what works for them. So it doesn't mean you can't negotiate, but always keep that in mind. So now looking at the actual post itself that you want to put out on their platform. Now, one of the key things that you want to make sure is, yes, you get your brand in there, and yes, you get your main message across when your influencer is putting out a post, but you want to make sure that your influencer is actually reviewing or speaking about your product in the most authentic way possible. If it sounds too salesy, and if it just sounds like you've thrown a lot of money at them to speak about your product or your service, then that will impact your rate of sales. So you want to make sure that you allow the influencer to be as creative as they want to be, that you allow them to kind of have as much autonomy as possible about how they create that content, how it looks. Don't, give too much direction. Give obviously the direction that is needed in terms of, how to showcase your product, but let them kind of get into their creativity, because you want their content to be consistent with the other content, the other pieces of content that they've put together. So if you're reaching out to a particular influencer because they have an influence built, then you don't want to change up their content because they've built that audience, because the content that they create is native, is good, and it appeals to their audience. So if you change that up too much, then that could impact your conversion rates, and it could also impact your relationship with the influencer as well, because the influencers that I know love to have kind of creative autonomy, because at the end of the day, that is what influencers do. They create compelling content. So allow them to do what they do best. Now, I would also recommend that you use either affiliate links or affiliate codes when working with influencers. Now, I know what you might be thinking, like, if you're paying the influencer up front, then why are you also giving them a percentage of the product sales? Now, I'm going to give you my reasonings why I would recommend this. Obviously, this might be a case-by-case basis, so you might want to take this tip with a pinch of salt, but here's my reasoning behind it. So the transaction hopefully doesn't stop after the influencer has put a post out on their social media platform. So, for example, I've done a lot of collaborations with other companies, and they've given me affiliate links. And I might be putting out a video like maybe in 2 weeks time, or in a month's time, or in 6 months time. And maybe that video is relevant to the company that I referenced, or maybe I referenced them in passing again in another video. Now I'm more inclined to actually speak about that company and that brand if I know I also have an affiliate link, if it relates to a piece of content that I'm planning to put out. So this means you're encouraging your influencer to make sales later on down the line. But what this also means is if the person who is promoting your product or service knows that the more they sell, the more money they will make, this is an extra incentive to make sure that they actually promote that product as best as possible, because they're going to get a financial kickback from the sales that they make. If they know that they're only getting a sponsorship, then they might not be as enthusiastic about creating the content, because they know that they're doing this purely for you and they don't get any kind of kickback on any of the sales that they make. Now, this being said, there are influencers who will work just for affiliate kickback and who won't take an upfront fee, but as a rule of thumb, there are some influencers who will demand both, or at least will demand an upfront fee if they're not too savvy with what affiliate marketing is. So don't be too uptight with who you work with and how you work with them. Everyone's got a different process, so be flexible, be adjustable, and make sure that you're not too rigid. Now, my next couple of points goes back to my original statement that I made earlier in this video, which is that the first time someone comes across your product, your service, or your website, they might not necessarily make a purchase because they might not be in the ready to buy mindset. So you need to keep this in mind, that just because your social media influencer is promoting your products or your service, all of the sales might not come in the very first day they post that post. And you want to make sure you're doing tracking, and you want to make sure that you're retaining some of the website visitors who actually come to your website. So one of the ways to do that, again, is to make sure you have an account on the platform that your social media influencer is actually utilizing. If your social media influencer allows you to, then make sure you include either a snippet of the piece of content that they've used. Make sure you use a snippet on your social media, your own personal social media profile, because this can help you. If you're affiliated with some high profile influencers, then this can actually help you to kind of create rapport with some of your potential customers and also your potential followers. So make sure you do that. But you also want to make sure that you're tracking people who come to your website. So if an influencer promotes your products and you get clicks, but people don't buy the very first time they visit your site, then you can actually retarget them using retargeting ads, maybe on the platform that your influencer was using. So let's say, for example, you found an influencer on Instagram and you're promoting your product, and they speak about your product, and 1,000 people click on the link that you give to your affiliate, but only, let's say, 50 people make a purchase. So those other people who didn't make a purchase, they still clicked. So if you have a tracking pixel on your website, you can actually utilize that to retarget your traffic, and you can go into the Facebook Ads Manager and make sure that your advert shows up to people who have actually clicked on your link. So who have clicked on the link as a result of the influencer sending that traffic to your website. So this is one way of kind of making sure that you don't lose out on traffic that maybe might convert in a week or 2 weeks or a month or later on down the line. Now, another thing that you might want to do is go for a giveaway. So maybe instead of going for a straight sell, go for a giveaway or a free trial or a 10% discount on your website that people have to opt in to get. This will help to increase your conversion rates, and also it helps you to gain that all important data. So again, someone might not be comfortable with making a purchase the very first time they see your offer, but if they give you your their name and their email address, then you can communicate with them later on down the line via email, and this can be a great way to build up your email list and your customer base. Now, as well as doing the outreach yourself and actually finding influencers on social media, you can also utilize websites such as Grapevine and FameBit, for example, and there's a bunch of others as well. I'll try my best to leave as many as possible in the description down below, or you can just go to Google and search for platforms that actually allow you to find influencers easily. Now, there are some platforms that allow you to basically post a project, so you can post a project on that platform, and influencers who are trying to work with companies like you will actually apply to be a part of your project. So if you're struggling to find influencers, or if you're struggling to get influencers to message you back, then you might want to join a platform where creators have actually signed up to receive offers from influencers. So that could be a great solution for you. And it's also great, I think it's just great to be a part of these platforms as well if you're actively doing influencer marketing, because it's a good opportunity for you to find new creators, new influencers, and also it's good for you to kind of learn the process as well, like to see how much creators charge, to see what the process is, and also, you know, if you're there, then you can actually discover people who you may never have discovered via your own means. So that's it's definitely something to think about. You want to go and join one of these platforms, join Grapevine, join FameBit, and there are also some other awesome ones as well. And again, I'll leave those in the description down below. But I really do hope that this video brought you value. I also have the formula, guys. So if you are an entrepreneur or a business owner and you're thinking of ways that you should be promoting your products or your service online or your website more effectively, then you absolutely should consider downloading the formula. A copy is behind me. I'll also leave a link to it in the description down below as well. Now, this is the free guide to driving leads and sales to your business on a consistent basis. So if that's an area that you struggle with or you want more tips and advice with, make sure you download it. And if you've downloaded it already, make sure you go through it a couple of times to really understand some of the concepts that I go through in that guide. That's really going to help you guys to push your businesses forward online. Again, it's completely free, so make sure you go and grab your copy. But I really do hope that this video brought you value, and if it did, then please click the like button down below and make sure you share this video with a friend. If you have any additional questions or comments, then leave them for me in the comment section. But until next time, watch some of my other great videos. Make sure you subscribe to this channel for more awesome business related content. Have a great day. Make sure you download the formula, and I will see you soon.